Hello there, and welcome to episode 33 of Colonization Project. We start today's episode off by unlocking experimental heat management, which gives us a bunch of new radiators before launching a brand new vehicle. This is the Ares crew transfer vehicle, and it's sort of a descendant from the Luna crew transfer vehicle. It's sort of derived from it, but it has so many changes that it might as well just have a new name because, it has a lot of new changes. So the first of these changes is there's no crew cabin on top. I didn't like the old one, so I just removed it. Replaced it with a nose cone. I think it looks a bit cooler now. It's also single stage to orbit now. Before we had problems even getting out to Minmus. Now we can easily get into orbit with just this stage. And that's thanks to this brand new nuclear aerospike multi-mode engine that we have. It's basically just an aerospike, but it's a nuclear engine, and it can use both liquid fuel and oxidizer. We use the liquid fuel and oxidizer for launch, but once the oxidizer runs out, we just use the liquid fuel because it's a bit more efficient. You can see we're using it right now. Well, what this mission is, I should probably talk about that. This mission is a tourism mission. We're carrying a bunch of tourists up to the orbital hotel, and yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing right now. Of course, there are some obvious improvements to this design. We have the radiators, we have the two fuel tanks on the side. Those are new. Other than that, there's not really much difference between the two vehicles, but it does look different. If you put them side by side, you might be able to see like how it has like evolved over time, but you can also almost certainly tell the differences between the two. This will also probably replace the Luna crew transfer vehicle because I don't like the old one that much. Compared to the new one, this one's a whole lot better in many ways. And if we can't get out to Minimus, we can always send up like a tanker or something to just refuel it, or in the cargo bay we can just have a bunch of extra fuel, both of which are valid solutions. But the tourists will stay in orbit for about 40 days, but in the meantime we can unlock more command modules and advanced logistics, which is actually a very important tech node. It gives us a bunch of new colony parts, as well as 3.75 meter gravity rings. Not sure why we unlocked 5 meter gravity rings before 3.575, but oh well, it's just one of the things with playing modded. But you can see we are heading back to the Kerbal Space Center, trying to land once again on the launch pad, so the tourists don't have to walk. You may be wondering where the tourists are also. I'm not sure where they went. When I loaded the craft, they just disappeared. Oh well, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Yeah, the tourists just disappeared. I don't know what happened to them. They didn't die, I'm telling you that, but like they just went poof. Not sure how it happened. Maybe the Kraken didn't like them. Maybe the Kraken doesn't like our space tourism adventures or something. But you can see we are landing. We do manage to land with a very shocking amount of delta V left, 4 meters per second. These are perfect margins right here. We have tons of fuel left for air. Sarcasm, obviously. We barely have enough fuel to do this, but hey, that 4 meters per second could have been used too. Oh yeah, we also have the RCS thrusters. Oh wait, those might, no, I don't think that those are an amount of propellant, I'm pretty sure. But now we are launching a Colossus, and it is carrying a brand new greenhouse up to Apollo base because, yeah, I thought we needed a greenhouse when I built this, but as it turns out, we need more Kerbals on Apollo base because right now, I don't think the, like all the modules are working because we don't have the specialized Kerbals. Like we need like botanists and farmers and all that. We need those types of Kerbals on board the base in order to have it be self-sufficient. So I might send an Ares crew transfer vehicle in the future just to like resupply the crew. You know, maybe make it a bit more self-sufficient. So I might do that later. But not right now, because right now we are once again delivering the greenhouse. But you know, it's not a bad idea just to have a bit of extra greenhouses, you know. They look cool, and it also gave me a chance to like add some more connector points because we're running out of connector points on Apollo base. We don't have very many left. Once again, we are reusing the booster for I don't know how many at the time. I actually wonder how many times I've reused the booster. Probably a lot. Or like what like the maximum time a booster was from its initial launch from its to its failure. Because like well, the last one's probably like the first Sarnis booster we had because that one has lasted a long time until it blew up, of course. But yeah, that might be interesting to find out. Mostly, we are also recovering the second stage because, you know, that's what we're supposed to do. However, as you might be able to see, we do not have enough fuel to land. That is not good because that means we cannot land. And you can see the engines do just inevitably flame out and we end up crashing into the ocean. Not the best, but we can always build new ones. Yeah, our main goal right now is just to head out to Minmus and yeah, you know, I've done this a million times before, you know. Yeah, it's just straightforward, standard. Oh boy, I should probably figure out something to talk about here, like how I'm not talking about anything. No, it's probably not very good. I'm just stalling for time at this point, am I not? Maybe I can talk about the payload. Yeah. We aren't just carrying greenhouses. We are also carrying life support recyclers because the old ones could only support like 3 Kerbals, which isn't good for a long-term colony. So we have a couple more life support recyclers on board, so we can, you know, house more Kerbals and take the strain off of like the supplies, because yeah. But you can see we are heading right down to Apollo base. We are going to connect this to, I believe, I forget where we're connecting this to, but sort of like in the front of Apollo base. You'll see it eventually. Yeah, pretty much all we're doing right now. It's quite boring, actually. You know, we've done this a million times before, and like I've just run out of things to talk about here because we've done it so many times. I should probably talk about probably one of the better features of the Ares crew transfer vehicle, because seeing the Luna crew transfer vehicle right there just reminded me of something. So, you can't see it isn't actually attached to Apollo base. It's actually just by itself. And that's because what it has on board, it has these like Kerbal attachment system like pipelines, and those seem to irritate the Kraken a bit, you know. So what I did to solve that problem was we're actually using like the base connector ports instead on the Ares crew transfer vehicle, and it works a lot better because Apollo base is quite stable. I'm surprised the Kraken hasn't just deleted it thus far, but yeah, it's one of the better improvements to it. It also doesn't have any solar panels. I don't think it does. It might have some RTGs somewhere because, you know, it's a nuclear powered spaceship. We might as well have nuclear powered electricity. You also might have been able to see there that we didn't get the engineer out to disassemble the parts because I figured someone else might do it because the engineer has done a lot of stuff. Anyways, right there, you just saw we unlocked experimental nuclear propulsion, which gives us tons of new nuclear engines, like nuclear jet engines, nuclear light bulbs, nuclear gas core engines, all that stuff. But we also Opportunity has arrived back at Kerbin. It's arriving in a retrograde orbit. I just realized this as soon as I got into orbit, and I was just like, why did I go into a retrograde orbit? Yeah, it's hopefully I'll fix that later. I mean, I probably won't. It's going to be quite expensive to like just reverse the orbit, but yeah, we can send up an Ares crew transfer vehicle again to go and get it. You may be wondering, actually, for those of you who have played with like the nuclear aerospike engine from Kerbal Atomics, the plume doesn't actually look like that. That's because I actually made that plume myself. I'm actually hoping to like make like a bunch of modded waterfall plumes because like mods like KW Rocketry, Interstellar Extended, those don't actually have waterfall effects. At least some of the engines don't. So I'm actually hoping to like just make them myself because nobody else is doing it. And I figured, I mean, like with my basic knowledge of how module manager and waterfall works, I mean, I figure I can make some plumes myself. So that's what I'm doing right now. I might like release a video or something that like shows the plume because, you know, that would be pretty cool. So yeah, it might happen sooner or later. Maybe sooner, maybe later. I don't know. Anyways, we are, you know, rendezvousing with Opportunity right now because we got to go get the crew somehow. And as you can see, I actually warped way past the whatchamacallit, no, not V, just Opportunity. Yeah, because I don't like retrograde orbits, like, at all. Mostly because like it's weird just going west from the Space Center. Like normally you're so used to like going east that like it just feels weird to go the other way. And also it messes up like my muscle memory, like just trying to like use the warp 2 and maneuver node functions. I just don't like retrograde orbits. Although they're probably better than inclined orbits. I don't like those either. I mean, inclined orbits are fine just as long as they're not landing back at the Space Center, but because like all of our rockets are propulsively landed, you almost have to land back at the Space Center, or else like you'll fall off a mountain. because or you end up in the ocean, which will probably destroy your vessel because the ocean doesn't like things. So yeah, like just a circular 0-degree orbit. Those are pretty good. But you can see we are re-entering the atmosphere right now. It does explode a little bit right there. It's okay. It's just a solar panel. It's nothing too bad. I also added some parachutes because I didn't want the craft to explode because we didn't have enough fuel. And that was actually a very good decision. We land with only 15 meters per second left to spare. And quite a ways away from the Space Center because I don't know why. But you can also see we unlock advanced off-road mining and resource exploitation. Don't really like doing the unlocking a new tier of tech nodes, but we kind of need that because that allows us to produce material kits on site, and we kind of need that for Apollo base. I want to construct a orbital construction depot for interplanetary spacecraft, and I want to construct it from Minmus because it would be way cheaper just to build it on Minmus than to build it from Kerbin. So we kind of need those right now. But anyways, right now we are returning Ranger back home because most of the science on the Minmus Orbital Outpost is completely drained. We are producing like 1 science per day, which is actually very small compared to like Sunset Star, which is producing like 15 science per day. So I figured it's just better to just straight up not have it anymore, not have them researching data anymore. The crew of the Minmus Orbital Outpost could be doing much better things. But we will be back to the Minmus Orbital Outpost hopefully soon because, we might turn it into like a construction dock or something. I don't know. Maybe on an interplanetary spacecraft. But I'll decide that later. But yeah, we are sending the crew back home. This is actually probably the first time that the Minmus Orbital Outpost has been uncrewed for a very long time. So yeah, it's not really the best to break the record, but we still have lots of crew in space. We have the crew of Sunset Star, we have the crew of Apollo base. So yeah, we still have a bunch of crew that are still in space. We just don't have any on the Minmus Orbital Outpost. But you can see we are re-entering the atmosphere. We can also get some IVA views, I guess. Thankfully the re-entry goes a bit better than the last time we re-entered an SSTO from Minmus. Because if you remember, when we re-entered, Endurance from Minmus, like the nose cone blew off and we barely managed to land. Thankfully we don't have that problem because if the nose cone blew off, then the crew would die because the nose cone is the cockpit and behind it is the crew cabin. So it probably wouldn't have been the best for the crew if the nose cone blew off because, yeah, the nose cone is the crew cabin. But after a couple mid-course corrections, we are on our way to the Space Center. I was originally going for the desert airfield because I thought we didn't have enough velocity to get to the Space Center, but it ended up working well, and we should hopefully manage to land back at the Space Center. We actually haven't been to the jungle airfield. No, there are no jungles on Kerbin. There also aren't very many trees on Kerbin or forests. or cities. Interesting. The desert airfield. We haven't been to a desert airfield at all this series, which is quite strange. Although we don't really need to. But you can see we are entering the atmosphere once again. And we can land back at the Space Center. Just ignore the terrain chunk errors right there. Yeah, I'm not sure what entirely is causing that giant blob of white right there. Goes away after a little bit, but you know, it's kind of strange just having the Space Center just be really bright. However, we do manage to land, and for the last sort of section of this episode, we will be sending Sunset Star home. The Eve transfer window has in fact arrived, and we can undock from the Soul Fusion Tug and head on our merry way back to Kerbin. We actually have quite a bit of fuel once it's fully fueled. So we can actually take a very fast trajectory back to Kerbin. They will arrive in about 120 days, which is quite fast. We will be leaving the fusion tug in orbit of Gilly, just in case like we need fuel again. It does have a bit of fuel still left in it, but you know. We didn't finish the escape burn, but chances are we will be finishing that in the next episode. Which brings me on to the end of this one. This will actually be the end of this episode, so will be the end of this episode very shortly, like right now. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.